サタンしろ
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 237 of the Saturn Studs podcast. I am Mustache Kurt, joined this week by my co-hosts, Not Mustache Peter and Not Mustache Jake.
Should call me Good Internet Peter, because this week we're coming at you with the Ethernet Intention episode of the cast. Literally, I fixed my Ethernet cords, and they're back there, and you could measure with a force gauge. If I go down here, I did twang. That's the twang of my Ethernet cord, because it
but
sounds
as
like
we
it
explained to Peter, this is why his internet's stable, because there's no kinks or bends, so the internet can flow freely between the 2 points. Because everyone knows that's how internet works.
Yeah, we finally played the Saturn Studs video game long enough to unlock Peter as a character in Smash.
Oh, you should have just had me as a fucking silhouette for the whole time.
His fucking his unlock conditions are unreasonable. We need to complain to the devs. Like, we're adults, we don't have time.
The DLC, it's a pay to win program. You have to buy longer coax cables.
Yeah. Life is just like DLC. It's rated
my-
off your credit score.
This house is slowly becoming like my house at my old home where I grew up. I have told you the stories about the coax cables running from our wooden antenna down to our TV.
Yes.
We had
just
a
like a
chicken
spider
wire
web,
and copper tubing.
just like a spider web of coax cables
We're getting there. We're
racing
getting
through the
there.
house.
You can't have too many, except when you have too many, and you have to throw some out, like I did.
And of course, as always, we are doing our part and following Federation laws and coming at you live, as always, from Planet P.
P.
Yeah,
In the
it's
Clendathu
a
region.
shithole.
Yeah.
These shithole planets.
Yeah, nothing but desert.
Just desert and bugs and holes in the ground and Neil Patrick Harris.
Psychic Neil Patrick Harris.
Psychic Neil Patrick Harris, who knows when a bug is afraid. It's
Wait, what?
afraid!
But dark type. Wait, how does dark type match up against bug, or psychic type match up against bug type?
Psychic
Bug
weak
is super
against bug.
effective against bug.
Oh, there we go.
Bug is super effective against psychic.
Oh,
Other
well,
way
then
around.
never mind.
Because it's based on the original weaknesses for psychic type were based on things that people might be afraid of. So ghost and bug. Although there was a programming glitch in Generation 1 and ghost was not super effective against psychic.
No.
And the only 3 ghost type in the game were also part poison, which is weak against psychic. For
the only
some
ghost-
reason. I never understood that one.
Poison is afraid of psychic, yeah.
I guess because Ghastly was a gas. But then their only move was lick, right? Their only ghost type move was lick.
I believe the only ghost type move in Generation 1 was lick.
So was Nightshade just normal?
Nightshade is capped 40 damage.
Well, yeah, but like doesn't it have a typing?
Okay.
Well, yeah, but the damage is set.
Yeah,
Like it doesn't scale. There's no super.
It doesn't
effective.
matter.
So you're technically correct, Jake.
Yeah.
Congrats. And why Shadow Ball wasn't in... Like, that's like Mewtwo's like signature move is Shadow Ball, but that's not in the game.
But the movie with Mewtwo, where his signature move was Shadow Ball, did not come out until 2 years after the Red and Green came out. So that's probably why they hadn't thought of it yet.
Yeah. We're talking about Starship Troopers this week, guys.
Sorry about our Pokemon. Our deep cut into
Your Pokemon
typings.
history lesson here. Yeah,
I'm
Starship
from
Troopers.
Kanto and I say kill them all.
Oh my god, the propaganda bits were so funny.
Yeah,
And then
so,
intermingled with the AT&T commercials from
Oh,
Amazon
yeah, the real
Prime.
actual commercials.
yeah, the real ads were like the first ad break. I was like, "What? Oh, okay, it's for Lay's potato chips." Gotcha.
Yeah. So we watched this movie with ads on Amazon Prime, and that was it was the perfect seasoning on top of this movie to get actual advertisements in between our fake Paul Verhoeven advertisements.
And
For
like
this bug movie.
at the best fucking times too. Those ad breaks were so strategically placed.
Here's a emotionally climactic scene. Cottonelle down their wipes for down their care.
Yeah, so we watched Starship Troopers because given the current political climate in the United States, it felt appropriate to.
Yeah, it was Veterans Day, and I was like, something Army themed. And I was like, Starship Troopers is cynical enough where I could go for it.
Cynical enough, and it puts a real heavy emphasis on joining the military and doing your part.
Because it's a satire of fascism. Although, judging by some of the major review outlets' reviews of this movie, a lot of critics just did not get that.
No, I don't think so. They were like bugs.
They
getting
ate the
killed.
onion, as it were.
Although, to be fair, they kind of got away from some of the social commentary towards the end. It did become a fairly generic sci-fi action movie.
I noticed that. I was like, this is just action for the popcorn munchers. Pizza lunchers.
Maybe like it needed probably one more like cutaway propaganda bit that would show more like the fascist stuff, but like they alluded to a lot of it and they showed a little bit more of it where the capital punishment was a part of it. And then I think the biggest part was like the shower scene where just like they all describe their reasonings for joining and then explaining what citizenship actually guarantees you.
Yeah. I want to have babies, and it's easier to get a license when you're a citizen.
And I'm like, oh, shit, okay, all right, we're doing licenses now? I mean, I agree, but still, freedoms?
I mean, it's not a terrible idea.
No,
but,
it's
like...
not. I mean...
Okay. No, this
I
is
know
the better...
it's the whole thing about freedom, but...
It was the better... No, I'll say this. It was the better shower scene of the two military people showering scenes I've seen, because the other one was Ender's Game. Well, I like that one better because the kid just fucking dies.
That's so fucking gross. What?
He gets curb exploded. Like his head bops on the curb and he like severs his spine, his like
Jesus.
brainstem. Oh, it's a brutal ass scene. Like there's death. There's kids killing each other. That spoilers for Ender's Game. Well, not spoilers for Ender's Game. I don't know. Just read the fucking book and then disown Orson Scott Card online. Just ream his ass. Because he made the first book, and that was a good book about sci-fi stuff and things, and made a terrible movie. And then he wrote 3 more, which is just the Book of Mormon in space. Read it and prove me wrong.
Speaking of space Mormons.
Oh yeah, there was some space Mormons.
There were some space Mormons in this movie. They did not
set up their little base and then
wait. Oh god, wait a second. When did Ender's Game come out? When did that book release? Ender's Game.
The writer of that book was like, "Oh, space Mormons. That's a good idea."
1985. I think we'll talk about the Starship
Troopers was 97.
Right.
Best
CGI. So because the enemies in Ender's Game were also bug people who lived in asteroids. Amazing that.
Well,
inspiration.
The arachnids
although
not live
the
in
Starship
asteroids.
Troopers book came out in like the 50s.
Right.
Yeah.
So who's inspired by who? You be the judge, except I'm sure it's verifiable.
I like how even in this this far off like futurescape, there's still Harvard is still like the pinnacle of education.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it would only become more prestigious as time goes on.
Yes,
because it gets older.
But yeah, we will talk about this more in depth, believe it or not, at the end of the review. We have our lovely dailies to go through, starting with Trey Watch, the show where we talk about trailers. And we'll start it off with another Army movie, Army of One. One Army. Armio Singulario.
Is that sounds like a Harry Potter spell.
It does. The botched Latin. What would it be? Like one single soldier? Kurt, you know the Spanish.
Armio is not a Spanish word.
Sure
Okay.
it is. El Army? Is that it?
Singular is how you would. It's spelt the same.
Mhm.
It's just different pronunciation. I don't know what the word for army in Spanish is.
I know
Off the
war
top of my
is
head.
guerra.
It's guerra. Yeah.
Guerra.
Can we
Guerra.
just talk about the 2016 Army of One? It's better.
Oh yeah, we will talk about anything
Ejercito.
except this trailer, huh?
Ejército singular.
Okay. That translation is literally more interesting than this movie. Girl boyfriend dies to local, what I have to assume is just local wrestling support talent, enhancement talent. Gets punched up by a big muscle man in shirt. She says, "You kill my boyfriend. My name is Inigo Montoya. Prepare to die." Walks around woods with sniper rifle. Has ghillie suit for some reason. Flashbacks to army training. Kills people.
Eat hot
Movie.
chip.
Who's the lead
Credits.
actress? Who's this a vehicle for?
The lady from Matrix 4.
Oh, I don't know.
Is that not Carrie Ann Moss anymore?
2020. Let me see. I looked at her name, but I don't remember. Where's the cast? Ellen Hallman.
I've never heard of her.
Yes. She was in such movies as Surf School, The Scorpion King 4, Quest for Power,
A real A-lister here.
and Max Jaeger Black Ops.
Oh.
Well, that sounds like Hot Dog Day 2016 for me.
Black Jaeger. Hell yeah.
Oh, she was also in. There's a lot of TV credits for her. NCIS, Malcolm in the Middle.
So supporting
Spartacus.
actress number 785.
Yeah.
Yes.
Character, I
But
guess.
the 2016 Army of One, much better, where Nick Cage goes crazy. I think they just follow him around for a day. And
Yeah, I'm pretty
find
sure
out
this
that
was
he-
just him in a bender. And
Yeah,
they
just-
convinced him to call himself Gary.
Yep,
and
his name
go-
is Gary now. He also has a mission from Russell Brand, who is God, to go and kill Osama bin Laden.
Which I guess there was a true story of some guy who probably tried. Maybe
Based
got
on a
over
true
there and
story.
said, "I don't know what's happening."
He
and
got
went
stopped
back
at
home.
TSA, let's be honest. That's about as far as it went.
Based on a true story is like such a flimsy thing. Like
I know.
if there was a town that was called this based on a true story.
Based on a true story. I heard it at a bar. They
remember-
thought they knew a guy.
Yeah, I can't remember what movie it was we were watching, or maybe I was watching and looking it up, and it was based on a true story. So I was like, was it now? And I looked it up, and it like there was some page, maybe it was a trivia on IMDb that like laid out what was the true story of it, and it was like so barely anything related to
Oh,
the
yeah.
movie.
They use like names and that's it. And like just
Yeah.
overarching idea of the plot.
But we get to see Nick Cage do Fruit Ninja and like
Yeah.
do Borat-esque stuff in Pakistan.
Love it. What
Because
more
this
could
was
you ask
directed
for?
by the same guy who directed Borat, so it's that classic physical, like out on the street kind of comedy. Except it's probably not actually filmed with any like on the street
Yeah,
stuff,
it didn't look like a man on the street sort of deal.
but it had that energy.
Yeah. Had that same sort of energy. Just like Saban Films has the same sort of energy as we have. I think Saban Films has developed ScriptBot 9000 because we have a trailer here for a movie called Breach with Bruce Willis. And this, if ever there were a ScriptBot 9000 movie, it's Breach here.
I've seen this movie before. I've seen this movie before. It's
In
like a mix
aggregate?
of like, yeah, it's a
an
mix of
immersion
like
movie.
Alien and Shit.
This is basically just the Alien movie that has Ron Perlman in it. I think that's Alien 4, maybe 5.
Well, I was gonna say actually this is a combination of two different Alien movies. Because Alien
Resurrection, I think it is.
Is it Resurrection? There was one where they're like all on a ship with like a bunch of other lives. And they're all like kind of in stasis. Fuck.
Maybe that's Alien 3.
Maybe it's not an Alien movie. Maybe it's like fuck, I'm having a brain fart.
The ghost of Bruce Willis just passed through Kurt right now. Got a shiver from that shit. Yeah, this is Bruce Willis at classic I need a paycheck Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
This is actually Saban Films has kind of become the patron saint of Bruce Willis recently because they had the movie where he was a cop with the hospital. That came out fairly recently, and now this. So they've got him under. They signed him to like a 12 movie deal, and they're getting the most out of that deal.
We're gonna do it.
This made me want to go to the comment section because it's just so generic and see what people are saying. So one good comment is The Thing, Alien Covenant, Among Us the movie.
Oh yeah, this is Among Us. That's why they made it now. They're trying to capitalize on
that Among Us money. Nice.
So basically The Thing, but in space. So Among Us.
The original title was called Bruce Willis Stars in a Movie.
I wonder if Bruce owes someone a lot of money.
Yeah.
He's fundraising for his boy Trump.
He's got some blackmail on him. Somebody's got a video of him jacking off in a not so
jacking off on
place.
a nun.
Somebody's got a really incriminating video of him, and he was forced to do this.
Willie.
So now what we need Bruce Willis and Nick Cage to star together in a directed-DVD movie.
What would that even be?
The Expungibles.
The Fungibles?
The Expungibles.
Why is there a guy wearing shades in space? That's all I got from this
Well,
trailer.
because you're so close to the stars, Jake, obviously.
Oh!
Bullets in spaceship? They've got some explaining to do.
Yeah, that's when I saw them shooting bullets on their spaceship. I'm like, whoa, I think I know why it's called breach. You're going to give yourself a whole breach if you're not careful with that shit.
Light them up, boys.
Every gun comes with a roll of duct tape. Just slap it on and you're good to go.
That's why there's no duct tape on Mars. We put it all on this ship. Heading for Earth 2. Not to be confused with the DC Earth 2.
Yeah.
Or New Earth. I don't remember which it was called. It doesn't matter. It's a generic movie.
What was that movie, Two Earths, where there's like another Earth that just like popped up in orbit and you could like go from one Earth to the other and they were exact copies so you could see like your alternate version of your own life?
I don't remember that.
That was a dream, Peter. You just explained
That
one
was
of
a
your
movie. I
dreams.
saw a trailer.
No, that was one of your dreams.
I think what you're maybe experiencing a small stroke.
Do you smell toast?
Should probably get you to the hospital within the week.
I did have breakfast earlier.
That's good. That's the most important meal of
was
the day.
toast part of the breakfast?
English muffins. I had
right.
eggs Benedict
That's
and
toast-like
a
materials.
latte.
That is a carbohydrate that has been toasted.
I'm just going to drink this nondescript tea now. Thank you.
Where's
Hope
your
it's got Baileys in
oversized
it.
sweater? You're holding the cup
That's
with
in
two
the other
hands, so that's a good start.
What are you, from a Hallmark movie? What are you, about to go back home to your small town being a big city guy and meet the girl of your dreams who's a librarian, huh?
What am I? A successful guy who's going to teach a young kid out of juvie how to not be racist anymore through the power of BMX?
Oh,
Wait, that's The Last Ride. That's our next trailer.
It's actually just called The Ride.
Not the last.
Well,
I was
it might be his
confusing it with
Last Ride,
Last
who
3
knows?
Days, which is the other trailer in my list. Yeah, so Ludacris he's a successful black guy, and the kid is a kid in juvie. Oh, Ludacris is also playing a successful black guy in the movie. That's important to note. He's an actor.
There is a
in this
distinction
movie.
that.
And the kid has the tiniest little swastika on his neck. They
Little swastika.
They took a little stamp that you get at like the Scholastic Book Fair, and they put a little henna tattoo on him.
Oh yeah, I remember those Nazi stamps that they would have at the Scholastic Book Fair. Yeah.
The
The Buchswagen.
notoriously racist Scholastic Book Fair.
They totally missed out on some Nazi puns to name this movie. The Third Ride, I think, would be really good.
So I'm on the IMDb page right now, and this released on Prime Video yesterday.
Okay.
So it's on the short list for next week. The original title was called just Ride. It has been since renamed The Ride, and it was made in 2018.
Oh,
I see.
why was it released
The
yesterday?
release date is November 13th, 2020 in the USA. It is described as an action movie on IMDb.
What?
It's an
Is
hour
there a
and 38
shootout that I
minutes.
don't see?
It's an hour and 38 minutes long. And it's got a 5.6 out of 10. Well, let's just read the featured review. Okay, it is a 1-star review. This is the featured review. And a whole 18 people rated this review. 2 found it helpful. Here we go. Who cast this garbage? By Mission Sparta. Submitted November 6th of this year. This is what I got from the trailer. Ellipses. A 48-year-old man and a 45-year-old woman adopt a 37-year-old man just out of high school. Sounds amazing! Exclamation mark. All capitals. LMAO!
LMAO, bop, bop, bop. Yeah, like, I don't know. It's probably a heartwarming, based on a true story tale. Whatever he learns BMX, he ironically makes like a jab at Ludacris early on. It's like, the only rich black people are athletes and rappers.
And he's like, I'm a specialist in my field. I'm like, I guess that's the way to put it. You're a specialist in telling bitches to move out of the way.
I think I know
just
why
ironic.
I think I know why the original title was Ride.
Oh,
Because there is another movie called The Ride from 1997.
Yeah, I also saw that when I Googled it. I had to put 2020 after it to get the right movie.
A has-been cowboy is given a second chance at the hands of an unexpected teacher. I think there's a couple similarities here.
is it a remake? They remade it.
Except that one was about bull riding,
Oh, okay.
not BMX.
I mean,
What is a bicycle but a mechanical bull?
Yeah,
We're not so different, you and I.
You gotta grab it by the horns either way.
So yeah, that's all I have to say about that movie.
Next, Max Cloud, video game movie. Girl gets trapped in video game, Jumanji. It's like a YouTuber's made it. Go watch, take a look at the trailer just for like a couple seconds and look at the acting and tell me that this movie was not previously was about to feature on YouTube Red.
What is it called? Max Cloud?
Yes,
Not Max Steel.
it's bad. The girl's like, I wish I could just play video games all day and never have to deal with my problems. Video game.
Video games.
Oh, Captain Max Cloud rolled credits.
Oh God! Fuck, dude. This looks awful.
Yeah, this definitely. This is a YouTube Red Sky High ripoff.
Dude, I hate this.
Who cut this trailer?
You
The
playing
actors
those
did.
damn games. I'm the dad. Why aren't you doing schoolwork, huh?
I'm 70s dad. Can't you see?
Scott
Wood
Adkins.
paneling. Mustache.
Your mind is gonna rot.
This is what happens when a writer gets locked up in quarantine, is the first comment of this trailer.
I've been working on I've been working on my screenplay all during quarantine, and I think it's finally ready to show to the world. I present to you Max Clued.
Max Clued.
God, this is awful, dude. I hate this. I can't watch anymore. Was that a Nerf axe? I think that was a Nerf.
I don't know.
That 100% is like the Nerf foam
Like the
axe
zombie
that
axe?
he's holding up.
There's an
Yeah.
axe that Nerf makes?
Amazing.
Yeah.
Why does
axe makes a
Nerf make an axe?
Nerf
I mean,
made
it's
a
the
line of
foam
melee
cover.
weapons.
Yeah, they have a bunch of melee weapons that
But don't
actually
buffer kids
hurt.
make their own weapons? Like, isn't that the point of it?
Yes.
So who are
Yeah,
those
but,
marketed
like-
towards?
Just other kids who just want to whack each other with foam swords but don't want to make them themselves. I mean, the
Pro
Nerf,
Nerfers?
like when Nerf, I will defend this just quickly. It's not a strong defense, but we'll defend it. When Nerf came out, the first Nerf product was a foam ball. So Nerf is less about the blasty blast originally, and the core of the product
Nerf
is the foam.
footballs were their main
Oh, yeah.
go-getter for
Mhm.
most of my childhood. Nerf guns
Ones
didn't
that
come
went
along
whistle.
until like I was. Well, maybe they came along before I was born, but they weren't really a big thing until I was in elementary
Right.
school.
And then
So-
they're like, you want to coat your DS in Nerf? Here's a big
So-
foam.
Swords are a natural
Case.
progression. I like
Yeah.
that the zombie line of their stuff only because it gave us the first actual like hammer action shooter. Like it was like a 5 shooter.
Yeah, the pistol?
Yeah, they had like an
Yeah, I love
actual
that
like
one.
hammer on it.
Remember
Well, you
the
could, like,
Nerf
you could-
sniper rifle that had no more range than any other Nerf gun?
Yeah,
But they didn't try to hide it. They just tried to upsell their 20-foot range like it was actually impressive.
It's the long
It's
shot.
like, it'd be like,
And now
long
they
shot,
have,
shoots up to 20 feet,
fuck,
and it
what's
shot
the-
like halfway across the room, and it was
Yeah,
so
let me see.
unimpressive.
Nerf
Unimpressive.
Ultra, because I don't know why they've been in my recommended.
And then
recently.
they had the one that had the fucking drum mag that would jam a quarter of the way through the magazine every fucking
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, you couldn't actually shoot that.
So I'm looking at their site now, and their newest line, I remember hearing about this, was Nerf Ultra, which are big fat darts with fins on the back instead of just a cylinder. So they claim 120 feet now.
Ooh, fuck. they're getting
And
advanced.
I'm looking at this product, the Nerf, the Ultra Pharaoh, which is it's just a Barrett. It's just a Barrett 50 cal.
I can't wait till
It's
we
got
live.
it's got the aesthetic blowback nozzle and everything.
I can't wait till we live in a society where
Bottom
our police
text.
force is all like equipped with Nerf like mega weapons,
How much Demolition
and
Man
they're
next?
non-lethal.
$50. That's actually not a terrible price.
Hey, that's not
Yeah.
bad. That's not bad for a
I
bear.
might get a Nerf
Ooh.
Barrett 50 cal.
Yeah, they got. Oh yeah, they got the little fins.
I wish these
Jesus
existed in
Christ.
like freshman year when we were doing Nerf Club in the Davis gym.
Yeah, right.
Well-
Where when I would go outside for a smoke break, I was doing less damage to my lungs than being inside the Davis gym.
Are these like meteor darts too?
Yeah.
They look like
I heard
thick
The
boys.
50 cal darts.
Big
Those look
boys.
like they might actually, register if you get hit by them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, it does say do not aim at face or eyes.
Well, they always said that.
You could get a
Choking
dart
hazard.
stuck on your eye. They are suction cups.
Oh my god, they have like a fucking grenade launcher.
Grenade? Yeah, the grenade
the
launcher. from
Fortnite grenade
Fortnite.
launcher.
Yeah,
That's hilarious.
with these big fucking fat ass darts.
They got the Halo
They have a
they
shotgun,
got the
too?
Halo assault rifle.
I'm buying the Halo assault rifle. You better believe it.
Da-da-da-dun, da-da-da-dun.
Da-da-da.
Yeah, I can't. Is this on sale yet?
Yes, I think it is. We're gonna become a Nerf review channel for the next 2 weeks, guys.
Hey, you
Just
know what?
keeping
That's
score.
fresh content for the YouTube channel. Put up some Nerf
Why do I
gun
have to
reviews.
enter my birthday to find out where to buy this?
So they can tell that you're a pedophile and lead you to the nearest police station.
1910.
Wait, hold up. What the fuck is this gun? Excuse me. Let me. Where are you? Come on.
Yeah, but you're of age.
Nerf
Are you
Elite
old enough
2.0.
to
What is
buy a Nerf gun,
the turbine? Where is?
Sonny?
Dude, it just
I
took
saw a
me to-
minigun. There's like a minigun on here.
It just took me to Walmart's website.
I've seen the one that has like the bandolier.
Yeah, and you hold it. And
I'm sure that gets fucking jammed like nobody's business.
Yeah. Oh, and then there was that Rival series where they used the little foam golf balls that didn't fly far at all. They were supposed to be competitive.
Yeah, I think they were just
finally acknowledged that you can shoot darts at each other.
Yeah.
I miss the ones that had the whistlers on the tip of them. That would whistle by your ear.
Yeah, that was a football innovation. You throw the Nerf football that whistled, and it sounded like a fucking shell was gonna drop down. Because when you played in the yard, like no one could kick. Like you couldn't do kickoff, so you do a throw off where you just like lob it as far as you could into the opposite end zone, and it sounded like a fucking shell was dropping down.
Then it pinged little Billy right in the fucking eyeball.
Well, it's his fault he couldn't catch.
Mommy.
Well,
Can't catch.
Should have
like
called
these...
for a fair catch and then just downed it.
Just like these lesbians can't catch some dick.
oh, is that how we're transitioning?
I guess.
Y'all go for it.
I mean, how else do you get off of Nerf guns onto lesbians? I mean, it's...
Oh no, I had to take a far right turn. Happiest season. This girl is meeting the parents of her girlfriend, except she didn't tell her parents. She's gay. Ooh.
You know,
So
if a
instead-
lesbian girl ever comes out to her father can go, you know, we're not so different, you and I.
Yeah. That's some common ground. We can get on the same page.
I'm something of a scientist myself.
Women, right?
Can't live with them. But you also can't club them to death.
But the girlfriend tells her parents probably the worst lie ever, saying that the person she's bringing to Christmas is her friend who's an orphan who lives with her. And it's Kristen Stewart, so she's very clearly gay.
Because she such a subtle actress. Her.
Yeah, she hams it up. She's definitely like full carpet muncher for this movie. And you'll enjoy this. Daniel Levy is in this movie. Spawn of the great Eugene Levy.
Oh, okay.
So he's pretty funny because he's on
Does he also have 2 left feet?
I hope so.
He's part of the great Canadian comedy dynasties. What is he in? Yeah, let me see.
Oh, fuck, what was he in?
Space
I just started
Force,
watching
probably.
it with Kristen.
Let's take a look. He was only in 5 movies.
Not in a movie. It's the show Schitt's Creek.
Oh, Schitt's Creek.
Schitt's Creek with he co-wrote Schitt's Creek with Eugene Levy.
He's also a host for MTV Live.
MTV's still on?
Oh, that was his first thing. No, canceled in 2011, I guess.
Okay.
So this movie's probably gonna be generic and maybe sad a little bit. Probably like an ex from the past comes back and is like, I'm gonna out you as a gay. And then probably what I imagine the end of the movie is like all of her sisters are like, yeah, I'm gay too. Yeah, I'm gay too. And the mom's like, yeah, I'm gay too. And
I am
like,
Spartacus.
Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. It just boom.
They should do an X-rated version, Sisterhood of the Traveling Diaphragm. They just all use the same birth control.
I don't know what I want to talk about. I want to talk about why does Dan Levy look like he does look a lot like Eugene Levy, but with like a 2020 millennial glow up.
Yeah.
Is it possibly because he's Eugene Levy's son, who's a millennial?
However,
Yes.
I argue
Possibly.
I argue that Eugene Levy looks more millennial than Daniel Levy. Look at these fucking glasses. Let me pop this right in the chat.
The thick
Chat
boys. The glasses
Look
that you
at
could
these
fit around,
glasses
you could
that
use to hold up
Eugene
your waistband.
Levy is wearing. They're so hipster. He's just like, that's just a statement saying I'm quirky and I know it.
Well, that's Eugene Levy's whole career has been built on that.
Yeah. It's like he took a page out of Jeff Goldblum's book in the glasses department.
He and Jeff Goldblum see the same optometrist.
Yeah.
It's a well-known fact.
I feel like they
It's
just
actually played by Weird Al Yankovic.
they took Eugene Levy's like essence, put it in a football, and threw it through a movie theater where like there was a marathon of Queer Eye for the Straight Guy going on, and just passed right through it. It was influenced by the waves, and it came out, and it was Dan Levy.
I was going to say, it was a
know,
movie theater showing a J.J. Abrams movie because they had the same stupid fucking glasses.
Because we all know that, Dan Levy wasn't produced by normal means. He was definitely, probably some sort of asexual reproduction process of Eugene Levy.
Oh, speaking of
Budding-
J.J. Abrams, I just want to see what's the latest from our boy, from this guy. He's not our boy. He never was our boy.
What?
Castle Rock got canceled. His Stephen King Hulu show.
Shock horror.
Oh, okay, yeah. Because they weren't they going to do like a whole universe of Stephen King's shit?
Castle Rock
Yeah.
was, I guess, that show. It was like all Steven Universe stuff. Sorry, Stephen King stuff in one universe.
Can we get Steven Universe written by Stephen King?
Holy shit. That'd be gross.
That's pretty cool.
Disgusting.
I'd like it.
Stephen King has written, non-horror books.
What were they actually good?
I mean, it depends on what you think of Stephen King's writing style. There are people who don't like it.
Well, anything that Stephen King and coked out of his mind is good. Good for me.
The Coke King.
He
Coke
was the
King.
Coke
To
King
Atlanta.
for a long time. I tell you, every time this gets mentioned up, just watch the Maximum Overdrive trailer, the one that Stephen King presents, and you will see a man fucking coked out of his gourd.
Gourd Coke. Best Coke. Butternut Squash Coke. Flavor, the smell of fall in Miami. Okay.
Tony Montana's dandruff.
Tony Montana's hay cart ride.
All right, I'm boycotting this next trailer just due to James Corden, but that's due to personal reasons. If you guys want to cover that, that's fine.
So Superintelligence is a movie that I've been getting push notifications from the HBO Max app all week about. And I finally watched the trailer, and it's a Melissa McCarthy movie about it's about the same character Melissa McCarthy plays in every fucking movie. But this time the scenario is that there's a super AI intelligence that can control the whole world, and if he doesn't get shown by Melissa McCarthy that humans are worth saving in 3 days, he's gonna blow up the earth. And he talks like James
linked up
Corden
to-
because the fucking deep learning algorithm told him that James Corden, the sound of his voice would calm Melissa McCarthy down. And this is what HBO Max is pushing here.
What's that movie, How to Make a Man Leave You in 10 Days or whatever?
How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days.
Yeah. Is this like that, but in reverse?
What?
I've never seen that movie.
HBO Max playing How to Lose subscription
In 10 days?
members in 10 days?
Let's
the
look at the
real-life
Max
version of that.
original movies they've produced. An American Pickle, Superintelligence.
We should watch that. Oh,
That's
God.
what they got. That's what they're rocking. They're building their foundation on Melissa McCarthy and Seth Rogen.
And Seth Rogen.
You
Yeah,
know
but
what?
half the viewers of American Pickle are probably big Rick and Morty fans looking for Pickle Rick.
Mm-hmm. They got
They're just
Pickle
building
Rogan.
off that big pickle fan.
Big pickle energy.
Yeah.
So this is ostensibly a comedy movie or something, right?
I believe that was the intent. Yes.
Okay.
There were jokes.
So when you
attempts.
said super intelligence, because I didn't see the trailer, I was gracious enough to not see it until like today. What if and when you said she meets a super intelligent, I'm like, okay, like maybe the idea spawned in my head. What if like it had to save the world and it needed her to do it, and it had all the answers, but it made her go through ridiculous hoops to like save it, and she's like, I don't get this plan. And he's like, trust me, it'll all come together. Now I need you to steal this tiger from the zoo and get it onto a plane, and wacky hijinks ensue.
See, what I thought this was gonna be, based on the name only, really, and my not really reading the push notification, was I thought this was gonna be like a Flowers for Algernon sort of deal.
Oh.
Or maybe more Flowers from Charlie, Always Sunny episode kind of deal, given it's supposed to be a comedy. But what I got was far, far worse. Some of the actors, the supporting actors, seem like they're gonna give decent performances, but just let's stop this. Like, you're not gonna get the subscription numbers you want, HBO Max, if this is what you're selling your service on. And I know you're struggling to get subscriptions because you shit canned two of your top executives over the disappointing performance of HBO Max. Game of Thrones is done. If you had released this when Game of Thrones was still relevant, I'm sure you'd get a lot of people coming in. But it's over. It's done with. You pissed on that grave, too, with how poorly that final season came out.
You pissed in that coffee cup, which they left on set.
So, yeah, don't watch that. The last one I have is Wild Mountain Time. It's a romantic comedy set in Ireland featuring non-Irish actors doing the worst Irish accents you've heard since Tom Cruise.
Yeah, they really didn't sound Irish, but
It's Christopher Walken in
then again,
particular.
I don't think the Irish are real. I just assume they're all fantasy characters from a movie.
I think that sums it up pretty well. I got two other quick ones, two quick shout-outs. Shout out to Another Round, the Mads Mikkelsen movie, where he and his gang of buddies are doing an experiment.
Before you go any further,
Yes.
is it in the cold?
No.
Damn it.
Sadly,
Mads
no.
Mikkelsen is
They
like
do drink-
contractually obligated to do movies in the snow.
Ice drinks. No. In this one, he and his buddies are doing an experiment to see if their performance can be improved by staying at a 0.05% alcohol ABV at all times during work hours. That's the premise. Is stay buzzed at work.
I feel like it should be in the cold. Like, if it were in the cold, I'd be there. Mads Mikkelsen in the cold, always.
But then you don't get the PE instructor who's slightly buzzed telling all the little kids, all right, guys.
You can still
start
have
to-"
it like be in Alaska during the winter. It's not hard to incorporate the cold element. It's a very flexible setting.
There's ice
Well,
in
this
his
is-
drinks. Does that
Also,
count?
All right, close
this
enough.
isn't-
That's the
is an
cold. That's the
international
cold
movie.
in Mads Mikkelsen.
Yes. All right. So yeah,
It's a reversal of the trope. Really,
they've
he's
reversed
breaking new
concept.
ground.
All right, I'm back in. You got me back in.
This is also an international movie too. They,
Yeah, it's foreign
all in
language. They're speaking in a different tongue.
Icelandic, or I don't think so. What is Mads Mikkelsen?
So, like, the thing about this is just like, okay, so functional alcoholism.
He's
Is that-
Danish.
yeah.
Is that what's
it's,
going on?
Another round, a sobering comedy about aging, alcoholism, and friendship between men.
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 Yeah.
We're men.
So that's
Teaching
We're
kids
men
while
in
you're drunk.
tights.
And the last trailer I have is for Mystery of the Pink Flamingo, which is a quirky documentary about where a sound engineer is like, man, what's the deal with pink flamingos? Man, that's kind of weird, right?
Are there non-pink flamingos?
I guess just the flamingo. Like, he's like, why people put that in movies and lawn ornaments? That's weird. I'll make a documentary about it.
Sounds like an Eric Andre bit.
Yeah, I was about to say, like,
That's kind of what it feels like.
did I not see
Like,
that in that compilation that we saw?
it's just taken without a tongue in cheek. It's just like I want to figure out why the pink flamingo is a cultural icon. He talks to John Waters and he has interviews with like design because he made pink flamingos.
John Waters
That's how you know.
is a different kind of cat.
This cat knows where it's at. And that's it for trailers for me. That was a lot of trailers.
I burned all my trailers.
I burned out all my brain cells.
There's fucking not a lot of quality content looking in the pipeline.
I guess there is the last 3 days where Cop loses his memory of last 3 days and he has to fight the Yakuza. And you know they're the Yakuza because they wear Japanese Oni masks.
Oh, I thought you'd know they
do.
were Yakuza because they had the big fucking lotus tattoo on their arm.
No, there are no tattoos on them.
Oh, well, then they're not really Yakuza. You have to have the tattoo. So, not a lot coming down the pipeline, and not a lot in theaters. I don't know if this is just a reporting error or if everyone's going back into lockdown, so all these theaters are closing up again. But we have a whopping 3 movies in our IMDb box office report here. So this will be a shorter segment than usual. Opening this week in the top spot, we have Freaky, the Blumhouse Friday the 13th meets Freaky Friday crossover Delia Bob horror comedy with Vince Vaughn and young girl.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, the killer and the girl and the victim get like
they have their
body
bodies swapped, and hijinks ensues. I guess it opened with $4.2 million in 2,472 theaters,
and even $4.2 million.
Yeah, there's some rounding going on there, I'm sure.
Yeah, all of these
average per theater take of just under $1,700. And this normally would be our spotlight movie. However, when I went on to IMDb to parse the user reviews, there were like no negative or middling reviews. There was not enough to fill our segment requirements. So we got a little desperate. And so we'll be taking a closer look at the number 2 movie in America, which is Let Him Go, that movie with Kevin Costner and woman, who I don't remember.
The same thing. That fucking woman.
Which $2 million, down 50% from last week, in 2,458 theaters, 813 per theater take. Total gross, $7 million domestic, 32,959 international, for worldwide of just 7.12 million doll hairs. And it's got a 64 on Metacritic, a 7.1 out of 10 on IMDb, and I'm not going to bother to check the Rotten Tomatoes because I really don't care. Diane Lane is the woman I was thinking of. Could not remember her name off the top of my head.
I just had a really good idea.
What's that?
Well, I mean, I guess good is subjective. Maybe this would have been an idea to bring up a long time ago, but like drug cartels, their money is dirty. Movie theaters, very heavily cash flow oriented businesses. Why didn't I wonder if the drug cartels like would ever reach out to like AMC or Regal or somebody like that and be like, hey, clean our money and just like we'll buy all your fucking tickets with our dirty money.
I'm sure that's going to be great for those publicly traded companies.
They could report really high numbers. Be like, hey,
yeah, and then they get audited because
really,
they're like, "Where's this money coming from?" And they're like,
we just had really clean theaters. The people didn't care about. They
Well,
had to come see this movie.
It's simple, Kurt. You get the cartels to start substituting into they infiltrate the IRS. And slowly but surely, we replace the entire American economy with cartels.
Yeah.
I don't
This
want
is
to live in
another-
a Steven Seagal movie, Peter.
Why don't we just take
They
the
have
cartels
avocados already.
and move them over here?
They're going to start selling illegal weed to the legal dispensaries.
Sorry. I just had a Jimmy Neutron brain blast. I had a
Brain blast.
yeah. I just had to like put it out there.
Anyway, you know the joke about real reviewer traits, breeding with clean woman, yada yada yada. Read some IMDb user reviews now. You completely derailed my momentum, Jake. I was cruising.
I'm
Then you had
real
to
fan
float
of money
this
laundering.
stupid idea about laundering money with a publicly traded company. They have a fiduciary
good.
responsibility to disclose
what
where their
could
assets
go
are coming
wrong?
from.
They have the fiduciary in their assets. They're spread out all over their assets.
So a lot of these
Keeping it
positive
clean.
reviews here are like just really glowing praise for the movie, which doesn't make for great entertainment. And so I had to dig a little deeper than I normally do. So I grabbed a couple 8 out of 10s because they were just a little bit unhinged. So D Will 83440 has a review of Let Him Go. It's an 8 out of 10. Great story, great acting. November 9th, 2020. This is a tension-filled story with terrific acting performances by Costner and Lane, as well as the secondary actors of the Wee Boy family. Overall, one of the better movies I've seen recently. See, Hollywood? It's possible to make a good movie without the garbage you routinely add in these days. A parenthetical, unnecessary cursing, sex scene, political correctness / wokeness, and talentless actors. Exclamation point. Why they felt the need to put that in a parenthetical, I do not know. We need more movies like this. Period. No exclamation point.
I see.
23 out of 26 found that helpful.
Well, this movie was lucky enough to not get any 1 out of 10s. So the lowest score this movie received was a 2 out of 10. So you know this was definitely some disgruntled person who misclicked and just hit 2 instead of 1. Who really is like angry enough to give it a 2, but not a 1? Because they did not like this movie. And warning for spoilers, because I know everybody's gonna go out and watch this. Horrible movie, Beware, by Luke McLaughlin. This movie was so slow, very little action until the last 15 minutes of the movie. I wouldn't waste my time. The plot was very weak. The best part was the incredible background of South Dakota. 4 out of 17. Now, I don't know where the spoiler was, but I apologize for letting you know that it was in the only real Dakota in the U.S. That is South Dakota.
It's true. No one's ever been to North Dakota. Have you been to North Dakota? I certainly haven't. It doesn't
just
exist.
Canada.
It's just made up to give the Democrats more electoral votes.
What kind of name is Sioux Falls?
I think
Is
that's in
that
South Dakota.
I don't even fucking know.
Nothing is in North
I'm
Dakota
terrible
except
at
for
American
trees.
geography.
There's a military base in Minot, North Dakota. That's literally all I know to be in North Dakota.
You know what I do know, though? Is about the 6 out of 10 review, which is by Joe Zero. But I will put a voice on this, and you will understand why very quickly. 6 out of 10, blah. Typical suspense movie, depressing, always dark, tiny surprise at the end. And I love Diane Lane. I was not only disappointed, it hurt my feelings because it was so blah. 1 out of 2. I would also give my Trump impression a 6 out of 10.
Nice.
I like it.
It's not great.
I chose this review largely for its title. Somehow, this is from The Animal Mother, 8 out of 10. Somehow, Cherry Valance is still hot. 11, submitted November 11, 2020.
Confusing.
This is a strong film and a special one, I'd say. How unusually unsatisfyingly it unravels, but yet you still totally want to see what happens next. The film is authentic feeling enough to really drag you into it, whether you like where it's going or not. I think for most mature audiences, it will affect them in this way for the most part. Thankfully, this is not just another predictable Hollywood film. It certainly isn't unfamiliar territory, not at all, but it certainly has far more there are no periods in here. More uncompromising, and characters are more realistic than most modern Hollywood films. And therefore, the film is a breath of fresh air on this basis alone. Still not a period. Even though the movie's atmosphere is somewhat stifling. There we go, period. It seemed to me that the punctuation is just completely random.
I'll drink to that.
It seemed to me that this role was absolutely perfect for Diane Lane at this stage in her career/life. Or is it that she just totally embodied the character and nailed it? Definitely both, in my view anyway. And the Oscar goes to, ellipses, if I was handing them out, she was amazing at this. I would even venture to say one of the better female performances I've seen out of Hollywood in the last many years. She was that good. And the part was also a pretty interesting one. Subtle and intense. I think describe her performance the most accurately. Costner was definitely very understated and subtle himself in another very strong performance. My advice to those with mature viewing eyes, don't miss this film. Best I've seen so far this year. 8 out of 10. Just a screed, if ever there was one. 3 out of 5 found it helpful.
Nice. Well, I think this person has to disagree because they said 3 out of 10 boring with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 exclamation points. Wow. If I would have broken my microphone if I tried to express how that all caps boring was. By Pruz 55811. How in the world did they call this a thriller? This is the most boring, lifeless movie that tries to pull at your heartstrings but only makes things worse. With its one extremely simple and boring plot. I'm actually writing this in the theater as I speak, waiting for my Uber to come pick me up. And, gotta go. To sum this up in 5 words, do not waste your time.
That may be
6 out of 18.
the greatest review we've ever read on this show. That's like Pizza Pipeline tier right there. The how far would go to be famous tier right there. That's a topper. That's on the top of the list right there.
Put it in the fucking chat for us. I want to read it with my own eyes. Because I just have this.
Let me look upon it with my own eyes.
While my eyes cheat on myself with this shit, I'm gonna read this mediocre review by DT Elgin. Spoiler warning, and this one has actual spoilers in it. Predictable. So 5 out of 10. Predictable, not believable, soppy, rambling. Simple plot with too many side stories. Who's the Indian boy? Just shows up for what purpose? The Costner character was a lawman. Why didn't he use the law to get the kid back? No husband would let his wife run amok. They go to his hotel room, cut off 3 fingers. Self-defense? Could have been good. Actually funny in some parts. Next time, stick to the script. 1 out of 2 found that helpful.
Yeah, because you know as a viewer when they go off script. Hey, I have the script right here. You're supposed to actually say, don't go over there.
What if that was the writer of the movie?
A disgruntled writer of the movie who saw the actors and director just tear apart his hard work. Next time, stick to
cut off 3 fingers. Self-defense.
Self-defense?
2-bit ham.
You fucking hack. Yeah. And then in third, returning to our box office roundup, In third, the final movie, Come Play. Down from second, $1 million. Clean, even
This
$1
kinda
million.
We're not talking about the hub version.
Is that even a category? What am I saying? Of course it is.
Of course, it has to be.
Minus 44.2%. 1966
If it isn't, I'll make it a category.
theaters. Down 217 theaters from last week. 508 per theater take. So Let Him Go and Come Play, both from Focus Features. So they got like 16 million in box office revenue right now. So good for them. Not a lot of gaming news this week. Pretty light week on all these fronts. Unfortunately. So we might keep the show's runtime tighter than usual, although we are already an hour in. So maybe
not gonna happen.
Counter-Strike 1.0 is 20 years old today. Or this week, I should say, because this article is 5 days old. So the Half-Life mod that spawned Counter-Strike has turned 20 today. It came out in 2000, officially released November 9th, 2000, is one of Valve's most profitable franchises that they themselves did not create. Valve has a much better approach to modders than most developers, where they'll hire the developers of the mod to work for them.
Sega started. They started to realize that they had their Jimmy Neutron brain blast. Like, wait, that super successful Western distribution service that hires on passionate people who make fan work. What if we did that? Sonic Mania, get the fuck on it.
Christian Whitehead
And then they made a gajillion dollars, and they said, that's the game we're going to put it on. Fuck Sonic Forces. Sonic Mania is actually our newest game. Don't believe the hype.
Friendship with Sonic Forces ended. Sonic Mania is now my best friend.
Turns out cartoon characters are still more marketable when they're tiny and cute and colorful. Not for all it's changed, there's a lot that stayed the same.
Not Fursonas.
No.
Why did they add that feature to Sonic Forces? The design your own fursona. Fursona non grata. That would be the title of my Sonic Forces review if I had one.
Do we want to do the 2-hour challenge where you beat Sonic Forces in 2 hours and return it?
Sure, we could probably knock that out on a stream one of these days.
Well, I'll pitch in for the price of the game.
Cost. Xbox Game Pass added a couple of nostalgic titles this week. Final Fantasy VIII Remastered has landed on the service, as have Goner 2 and Streets of Rogue, which are not older games, but they are in a retro style. So I like that. I like the frequency with which new games are added to Game Pass. It makes it a good value service. Ubisoft evidently is doing away with achievements for PC games, and no one cared. Perhaps they should focus more on, finishing the games that they release, because I've seen some clips of Watch Dogs Legion that show not a lot of attention to detail was played. I think the one that gained the most traction was a comparative clip showing how in Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag the characters ran in water and how it changed from dry land versus Watch Dogs Legion, where you just splint full tilt right for the water. No change in animation whatsoever.
It's just a shader.
Speaking of broken games, CBR.com has put out an article by Zach Millsap about how broken games are becoming the norm and it's a huge problem, and I have to agree with it, even though he does commit the journalistic sin of telling me what the conclusion is before I read the article. It's like X is now Y, but that's a good thing. I hate that. Don't do that. Fucking come to your house and kill you.
Damn.
Here.
Broken, unpolished video games have become more apparent this console generation than ever before. I have seen clips of Spider-Man Miles Morales where he clips through a bus
Oh my god.
in a cutscene.
Holy shit.
Marvel's Avengers has had issues. Of course, the famously bad debacle that was WWE 2K20, Age of Empires 3 Definitive Edition, Fallout 76 was just one massive shithole. Just a few games. Of course, Assassin's Creed has a well-documented history of putting out half-finished games. The famous there is no face on this character model from Syndicate picture. Just
classic.
It's a problem because for several reasons. Number one, you're paying $60 for a game you expect it to be finished, and now with prices expected to go up to $70 for a game, that expectation is even more there. And it's a balancing act because we need to give people more dev time because games are being pushed out unfinished, and there's a huge crunch crisis in the gaming industry right now where developers are working just ridiculous hours to finish these games by their deadlines, and it's not healthy for them. And, turns out when you're working 120 hours a week, you're tired and more likely to make mistakes and not really finish or optimize your game. So the whole industry kind of needs to rethink, I feel. I'm not really going off the article here. This is now Kurt's op-ed. Needs to rethink how it's approaching release windows. And if you want to do games, you should... I think studios, as much as I dislike games as a service, I think studios should have a couple games as a service titles to float them financially so they don't have to put as much pressure on hitting release windows for these big AAA developers, and they can take time to release and optimize their games. And we as consumers have to stop buying fucking unfinished games. I know it's harder because more and more games are coming out unfinished, so what the fuck do you do? But we need to stop rewarding companies, not even rewarding them, letting them get away with shoveling out half-finished shit with giant 40 gigabyte day one patches to make it remotely playable.
You know what the real key here is? I think the answer is buy small games in between your big games. There's things were, I would say, healthier in the earlier console generations because in between your big flagship releases, you could buy really crappy tiny games, but also mid-tier games, B-tier games.
Yes, the double-A game has all but disappeared. And I think it behoove studios to... Developer Digital just makes their bread and butter on these, smaller indie games that are just well made, and they're not gonna sell huge amounts, but they sell well and they're positively reviewed. But I think some of these bigger studios like Ubisoft and Microsoft owns a bunch of these studios, so does Sony. They should supplement their launch portfolios with smaller indie developers, publish these games from these smaller developers, give them a reduced licensing, or say we'll publish your game on our platform, or a huge platform. We'll take the standard licensing cut of 30%, and we can put your game on this huge platform and fill in your portfolio with these smaller games that you sell for $29.99 or $39.99, and people play those in between your massive AAA releases that you're going to be selling for $70. I think that's much healthier for the industry. And these smaller indie studios are constantly working on titles, and there's so many of them that you don't have to like put pressure on them. Okay, this is your release window, we need you to churn out a game by now. It's like, okay, we finished our game, it's been a labor of love, all right, we'll publish it, get on there. And then they start working on their next project.
Yeah, that's what I thought that big studios would be trying to do, like Bethesda, when they just absorb smaller studios into them, or things like when Rare got purchased by like Microsoft.
But instead they made Rare design shitty Kinect games.
Yeah.
Connectables.
Like, manage your properties. And it also, see, the other thing is it bolsters your library for your consoles, because I think I sent over that sort of joke video yesterday where it was fucking
it was Linkin Park's In the End, but with
Yeah.
PS5 themed lyrics about how there's no games on the PS5 right now.
just buy a console. They'll make games for later, I guess.
Yeah.
Just buy
And
a console.
that's what's happening now. People are buying consoles. Like, I read an article the other day, or I didn't really read past like the sub headline. It's like the Xbox Series X has the biggest launch library of any Xbox in history. I'm like, is that true? Because if that's true, that's a damning indictment of Xbox launch libraries throughout history. Because as far as I'm aware, there are no games, at least no exclusives on the Xbox Series X right now, and there won't be for like a year, I believe they said. That's why they pushed so hard their backwards compatibility, so people could have a library to play on their new console.
Oh, and again,
Not to mention all these games that they're creating are massive like storage requirements, and to the point where you almost need an external hard drive with your console as it is.
Yeah, we talked about it last week with the PS5 only having like 660 gigabytes of usable storage after software took up its chunk. That's like enough for maybe 10 games of mixed size, depending upon the game. Like, there are games that are over 100 gigabytes now.
Yeah. And it's gotten to the point where you have to give players the option to like download certain portions of your game. I know Call of Duty came in and they're like, well, if you don't want the campaign downloaded, you can take off the campaign and only have the multiplayer and like Warzone on here. And it's like, why do people have to fucking pick
why do I have to
how
choose
much of
my
their
game?
$60, $70, $80 game that they want to have on their fucking
You are
console?
professional programmers. I'm sure you can write some compression algorithms. You're just lazy.
Never like think about that. I like to think about this in the age of discs, right? If you got a CD package, imagine paying like an $80 for a CD thing, and maybe it was a big game and they had to split it onto discs. Never have I ever heard of a game where they put the multiplayer game on a disc and then the campaign on a disc and then like another mode on a disc, right? That's kind of what their the analogy here would be.
So on 2-disc games, like Mass Effect 3 came on 2 discs, and multiplayer was accessible on either disc.
Right. So I'm saying is, the company, even in the age of physical media, companies never portioned out their games on size requirements among different things. And I'm saying that because that seems like an efficient way to do it, you know? But if people who are making them physically never did it, I don't know what the incentive would be to it digitally.
I think part of it is the death of physical media, because you no longer have a tangible need to limit the size of your game, because it's all digital now. You can just shit out whatever fucking gigantic file size you need. Like, you don't have to be like, oh, I can only, I have to fit it onto this 8 gigabyte DVD or this 25 gigabyte Blu-ray or this 700 megabyte CD. Like, there's none of that.
Right.
There's no like pressing need to have your games be controlled in size anymore.
And you just spread your file size out over the whole hard disk.
Shoot your fucking data load all over their hard drive.
Oh, Jesus.
And you say you clean it up.
And
throw them a rag.
my last my last thing before, I don't know if we want to move off of this and get into other stuff. My last thing is, again, Steam and Sega. You know, there's the last point is here. Maybe you find a game when you're putting out one of these smaller games that just catches people, gets the thing going. Because Sonic Mania was not the game that Sega was putting their big bucks on, right? It was like, oh, that's coming out too. That's good. And then people were like, yes, this is Sonic game. And then they have their big fucking bandstand for Forces. And people are like, whatever.
This
Forces.
is like Sonic Generations with 1/3 the content.
Yeah. It's the same thing, like, what was it? Like, what? Pocahontas and Lion King, where Disney was like, Pocahontas, that's gonna be the one. That's our big movie. And they shoved the B team onto Lion King, and they're like, do you guys work on the fucking cat movie?
Hamlet with cats.
Whatever. It's Lion King. Shut up. And then, you know, now Lion King is fucking ridiculous.
It won
so like, I'm saying
a
is,
bunch of awards. It made a lot of money.
has a thriving Broadway musical, has, you know, is one of the top Disney properties that was like the side team. Same thing with Shrek, right? I think you got Shrek'd at DreamWorks. If you did bad, they put you onto Shrek. And look how the fuck that turned out. So what I'm saying is there's a lot of reasons. Don't just AAA, you need to diversify. You need to dehomogenize.
So, KFC Gaming, which is the follower of ours on Twitter, came out with a statement lampooning Cyberpunk 2077's recent delay announcement, and I will read you that statement now. Hey everyone, today we've decided to move the release date of the KFC console, or KFC console, by 29 days. The new release date is December 11th. Most likely, there are many emotions and questions in your head, so first and foremost, please accept our humble apologies. The biggest challenge for us right now is creating a literal console that warms chicken, which requires us to prepare and test many elements of it: graphics, connectivity, game accessibility, speed, and most importantly, the chicken chamber. Well, while working from home. Since the KFC console evolved towards almost being the next-gen console somewhere along the way, we need to make sure everything works well and runs smoothly. We're aware it might seem unrealistic when someone says that 29 days can make any difference in such a creative and complex machine, but they really do. Some of you might also be wondering what these words mean in light of us saying the KFC console would be ready some time ago. Passing certification means the console is ready, can be completed, and is finger-clicking good to go. But it doesn't mean we stop working on it and raising the quality bar. On the contrary, this is the time where many improvements are being made, which will then be distributed via day zero patch. This is the time period we undercalculated. We feel we have an amazing console on our hands and are willing to make every decision, even the hardest ones, if it ultimately leads to you getting a console you fall in love with. Also, we're a UK-based team, and the release date was always December 11th, so literally nothing has changed. Some of you just assumed wrong, so you're in December. You're KFC Gaming Team. Mm-hmm. And I'm in the reply window right now, and there is a tweet from the Cyberpunk 2077 official Twitter that says, "We'd love to respond, but corporate approval team never got back to us."
So instead of water cooling, it's hot grease cooling.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that's that.
Instead of
Where are we on
RTD, it's
time?
KFC.
We're
over an hour.
Hour 18. All right. I finished The Outer Worlds this week, but I didn't write a review yet. And since we're like an hour 20 in, I feel if I ad-lib it, we'll push us a little bit past. So we'll save that for next week.
I can fill that in quickly. I should have put this earlier before we got into video game stuff, but I'll put it here. Just quick review. Kipo Season 3. I saw it. You know I've been following that shit. It was a solid end to the 3-season Netflix animated series. Maybe a little rushed, but it was not a high-stakes show by any means, so it's fine. It's fine, guys. Don't make this another Voltron. Don't worry about it. It's good. The series ended at a good conclusion. and it was fine. That's my review. I'm just gonna keep saying that.
Fine.
Again, I would recommend just watch it all the way through. The series is complete now. It's charming and it's low key. It's low stakes. It's good. That's my review.
All right.
Onwards.
Well, our review of Starship Troopers is forthcoming. There was no effort to make a transition because I'm lazy.
Is any transition needed for this?
I want a flying graphic
cinema?
to come on the screen. And
Do you
say
want to
Saturn
know
studs.
more about our transition process? Click to learn more.
I love those bits. There's such classic bits from this movie that will never get old. Just the cutaway to them showing kids how to hold the rifle properly and
They all
passing
grabbing
out
the
bullets and just fantastic. The world building was pretty good too for like a sci-fi movie that you wouldn't think to have like that much depth. They did surprisingly okay job in building the world, whether it's heavy fisted
It was
or
a bit
not.
of a bit of an info dump at the beginning. I feel like we could have done as good a job with just contextual stuff, like the propaganda bits interspersed were, I think, a better job versus the beginning one where it's just like, here's the situation. There's a war on this planet where the bugs homeworld and all this, and like there was a time before war and all that. The beginning part was just a very heavy exposition dump, not like Dune level exposition dumps where it's just a talking head for 5 minutes.
Yeah, but like it, I kind of liked it. Yeah, there was a whole exposition, but it also kind of, I think it made a lot more sense later on when the narrator comes back and it continues doing his propaganda bits, and it's like old wartime kind of like war at war. Join now, do your part.
Yeah.
The Federation needs you.
Very much Total War lampooning there.
Yeah. Really cool. I like it. It's a movie I can always sit down and have fun with. I think I've seen this movie like maybe 5 times or something like that by now. Just over the years, because it is an older movie, and I saw it when I was much younger, and I have seen it multiple times as an adult.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a fun movie, and I like to go back and look up like lore and how this movie was created and made, and some of the production stuff of it.
You can really sink your teeth into this movie, I think.
Yeah.
I wasn't too immersed in it because I wanted to do like kind of a thoughtful watch the first time. Because if I just watched it and it was like movie, then that's kind of the whole point of the stupid reviews by people who just didn't care to look at what was going on. To like, this is a stupid shooty movie. So just a second. Oh, okay. Yeah. Like, so I couldn't get immersed in it, which is fine. I think that's an interesting way to approach it. But what was he fucking saying? I don't know. That was my experience watching. This is my first time, and again, the ads were just like salt.
I have
all
never
over
seen the movie in its entirety. I've seen like bits and pieces. This is my first time watching it from start to finish.
Wow. Okay.
But I knew like the general plot and the political commentary and all that, and I enjoyed that more than I enjoyed the action bit of it. And one of the things I noticed, and I don't know if this is just like a holdover from the book, because the book is written at a time where like fresh off of 2 world wars back to back, this is all, and we're in the Korean conflict now. Like, it was written during a time where like war and veterans and all that was like at the forefront of political discourse. And like it is a lot of retrofuturism sort of technologies there. But there's a lot of inconsistency in the the combat effect, like the difficulty to kill the pugs, varies wildly from scene to scene, and the potency of medical technology varies fairly wildly from scene to scene.
Mm-hmm. I will. There's a lot you can sort of bridge the gap with your imagination, and maybe I'd call it maybe headcanon, maybe lore. I like the idea that if this is sort of like a propaganda, sort of like a framing device, it plays on one of those elements of fascism, which is the fascists, because of their own. This is another theme I was thinking about. The first half of this movie is all about insecurity to me. I was like, there's so much insecurity everywhere. Like, the entirety of humanity has a small dick complex. And one of everyone fucking has heard of the Umberto Eco Fascism essay. Go back and read it if you haven't. Just look up Umberto Eco Fascism. You'll find it. It's a good read. One of the things it says is, because of insecurity and like their own internal politics, you can't effectively evaluate how strong they are, because at the same time they have to be so much stronger than you, but at the same time they're weaklings who deserve to get crushed under your foot. And that kind of plays into also why they're the enemies. The bugs are the enemies, but they're in the erected quarantine zone, which implies that it's been surrounded by humanity and has been fairly boxed in, So it's not like if it was a formidable force that they were going to have problems with, that was like an actual like big time threat, it would be a border and there would be erected space,
Yeah, and it kind of feels like there's certainly there's a complex driving the conflict in the manner that it's being driven. Because I texted this in the group when I was watching this movie. I'm like, wouldn't it be just easier to nuke all the arachnid planets from fucking orbit? Just turn them into fucking glass and be done with it? Why bother, invading and trying to capture things? Because it's about lording the superiority of humanity over them. And, there was the grievous miscalculation based on the superiority complex, which led to, the first initial conflict going so poorly.
Right. And it's also, I'd also put forth that a lot of war in these kind of conquering societies isn't as much about the enemy as it is about a method of maintaining internal peace. Again, these are all things I've kind of put together. Like, it's kind of inferred that Earth has been taken over by one unified government. That Geneva is just all the same people. And that the white guys and the totally white all-American guys live in Buenos Aires, which is in Argentina. And so, wait, what was... I lost my train of thought.
The U.S. is now both Americas.
Right. Why are they conquering? Right. So you want to maintain the people in power want to maintain the power, and I think the most obvious way of doing that is the whole citizen thing, where the people who have the political action, the first class citizens, right? The actual citizens are the people who have served in war. So they have the power to vote and they have the power to have more kids. So people coming into the society and the people doing the things in the society are the people who have already been indoctrinated by the military.
Well, we see even in just the general schools, like there's indoctrination about, the importance of, it's like kind of hard to like call it indoctrination and propaganda, because like in a certain sense, well, I mean, it's not hard to call it that, but like sometimes it makes you question, like, is the messaging here really really bad? Because a lot of it is like public service, not just military. We see the militarism end of it, but it's like, yeah, public service grants you these rights, and it's important to be a public servant and all that, but it's for the advancement of the Federation, not necessarily the advancement of society. I think that's kind of where the fascism element creeps into it. But I don't necessarily disagree that there should be encouragement for public service, and that would give you a better understanding of community and stuff. But that it's pushed very hard in the public schools. I'm sure they've all been like corporatized and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think that's a good thing and that's also why Johnny Rico is the main character, because he also, when he's not sure, he's like, is this a good thing? Is the civil service, because he's torn between his parents and his friends and teachers, and he's like,
his parents and his dick. Let's be honest here.
Yeah.
But I think he finds his path along the way, which is something that he gets.
And also,
it's also probably heavily benefited from the fact that he doesn't have a home to go back to anymore when Brandon.
Oh yeah, I mean that's a big part of it.
It really pushes him forward, yeah.
And to your other point, Kurt, like that's good. This is the civil service good stuff. And I'm like, in general, yeah, I think civic service is good. And the way it portrays it in the movie, I feel like, is look at all this fantastic technology, all this sort of peace and stuff that they've achieved, right? I guess, spoilers, sure. The power to heal wounds, the power to traverse the galaxy in moments.
Minds.
Yeah. And what a shame that it's all in service of this soulless sort of society.
Mm-hmm.
And you're supposed to, like, it's a bittersweet sort of deal. Like, this is, at what cost did we get all these advancements?
Yeah, I think the one thing that kind of took me back a little bit from the whole idea that, like, you get all these rewards from being a citizen, basically going into public service. I mean, that idea of serving and giving up your time and sacrificing your time, and even your life to an extent, is good. But it's just like, there were certain things that just like kind of didn't obviously vibe with me, because we live in such a different society and we hold such different values. Like when they were talking about all the different things that they can do with citizenship, like have more kids.
Yeah. Well, like in the first,
not a lot though.
In the first
right?
10,
to like vote, they can they're allowed to vote.
Voting is for citizens
if they're only citizens.
But like they talk about, like they really kind of drive it home. They make the point that, well, because I think they do this specifically because people like me, who, like, is it such a bad thing that we encourage people to go into civil service? No, not necessarily. But this society is not one that's altruistic. And they make that point very clear in the beginning, because within the first 10 minutes, the teacher's talking about the failure of democracy and the fall of democracy, which is something that, at least in our current Western society, we hold very dear. So they make that. I think that's a very poignant divorce from our society to kind of like detach your empathy from some of these characters. And
if you take this as like a satire of current military and military opinions, it's never directly stated. It doesn't. I don't know if it's even a thing that they said. It might just be, it's another thing I kind of inferred and thought about. Is I wonder how well the veterans are actually treated, other than what we would consider basic rights, basic human rights conferred onto them. Like, the only time that the vets ever get their attached limbs, because they all lost limbs. Like, every adult is fucking disfigured from their time in the military, right? The only time the teacher gets his arm is when he's ready to fight again. The rest of the time, he doesn't get that arm. He doesn't have that right. Yeah. And I think about real veterans, the actual way we treat American veterans. It's not great.
At least not right now.
Good for you. Here's this VFW. It technically works. Go get him, Tiger.
There was a time where we took pretty good care of our veterans in this country, but not anymore. I know, like, we're all based in the U.S., and I know we have a few listeners that are not in the U.S., so obviously you might be like, well, what are you talking about? In our country, we treat our veterans great, and that's great. You should always treat your veterans well, because they sacrifice a lot of themselves in service of the country, which should always be rewarded, and they should always be taken care of. But in America right now, we like to hold up our troops when it's convenient to do so, but when any action is required to, take care of them, we kind of like, oh, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Back away from that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's been a back and forth history, I think, because do y'all remember in history class the oh, that's what it was. I was trying to figure out the name of it. Remember the bonus army?
I don't.
Okay, so the bonus army, I believe. Yep. So, okay, so this wasn't civil. I thought it was Civil War. It's even sooner. So after World War One, there was a gigantic protest in 1932 in the capital, which was primarily headed by veterans because they weren't getting their army bonuses. They were called the bonus army because they wanted to get paid for their service.
Right.
So it's not just there's been ups and downs, and it's a constant struggle in this country to try and between the people who want to actually compensate these people for their service and people who just want to give them a pat on the back and say, good for you.
I support their troops. I bought this bumper sticker, you see?
I paid this this marketing company for this bumper sticker for the troops who need money. So there's that. There's also the characters. I know some other reviewers say like the characters in general kind of soulless, but in particular the female lead, like Carmen,
Yeah.
she's just fucking.
Just nothing behind those eyes.
Just ice
I
cold.
took a drink whenever she stopped smiling because it was like 3 times throughout the movie. These teeth never go away. They never go away.
Yep. There's always blank expression on her face.
Gotta give a
Chills.
shout out
But Johnny was madly in love.
to some of the cameo, well, not necessarily cameos, but like some of the actors I recognize from other things that show up in this movie briefly. Timothy Omundson, who plays Carlton Lassiter on Psych, has a brief role as the psychic, which is ironic given his relationship with the psychic on that show.
That's who it was. I saw him. Like, I remember that guy from where was that?
And of course, Neil Patrick Harris is probably the only one of the cast here that went on to have a big career after this.
I would argue. I mean, I'd argue Clancy Brown.
He
as
already
well.
had a career
But
coming
he-
into it. That's
Oh,
that's
okay.
where
I
why I
don't know
draw
how
the
much work he'd
distinction
done
there.
before.
Like
Okay.
Neil Patrick Harris had been on Doogie Howser, but that's about it, and he went on to be more famous afterwards.
Okay, yeah, gotcha.
But by this time, Clancy Brown had already been Lex Luthor in Superman the Animated Series. He had already had quite a few other character roles earlier in his career.
I don't know how much stuff he's done. Let me see if I can find him. But he was Hank in Breaking Bad.
Who's this?
Let me get him.
What was his name?
Michael Ironside, of course, already had a good career going into this, but he's a legendary actor. Denise Richards, I guess, has gone on to do a fair amount of other stuff. But like nothing I am too familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe make these headshots bigger so I can.
It's
find-
really
Take a
it's
look.
really tough when you watch older movies like this and you look at the headshots of their current IMDb things and you're like trying to de-age them in your mind to be like, oh yeah, sure. I also want to give out a shout out to Jake Busey for his great performance as Ace Levy, reminding me so much of my cousin Rich.
Yeah, Jake. Yeah, he's. There's some classic characters in this that I really hold dear. Oh, Dean Norris. He played Hank in Breaking Bad, which is a pretty big role. He's in also Total Recall, Terminator, but mostly known for
Yeah, he has a
Breaking Bad.
few bit roles.
He was the commanding officer
Yeah.
who almost kicked out Rico. Yeah.
Gotcha.
gave him the
I
lashes.
also
Yeah, that was an interesting part of the movie. Is that like again plays into my kind of idea that insecurity is a big theme in the movie. Is that the public lashings are listed twice, and Rico was fine taking fucking 10 lashes to the back for what happened, but the thing that made him want to quit was the public shame of it, that he was disrespected in public when he was trying so hard to get everyone's respect. Because that's his whole like kind of character for the first half, is like everyone shits on him.
Yeah.
And he's a little dweebo. When
Also,
in reality
shout
he's
out
fine. He's a rich boy who lives a nice, healthy life.
Has
who
a
has
has a
parents that
handsome
love him.
chin.
Right. He's pretty. He was going to go to Harvard. His parents love him. He's great.
Well,
but he has...
I don't know if he's going to go to Harvard. He got a 35 in math. I think they were hoping he was going to go to Harvard.
That's true. But
Shout out to all the armor and the helmets
yes.
and Starship Troopers that were used in
Yeah, Power
also
Rangers
Power
Lost
Rangers.
Galaxy.
And,
Sure those.
Yeah. This is the alternate universe without the Power Rangers, without the power of the Rangers to be a moral guiding
The
force.
morphing grid did not exist in this timeline. Therefore, we devolved to fascism.
trivia: Mark Wahlberg turned down the role for Johnny Rico.
That's interesting. I think that
I kind of want to see
I
Mark
think
Wahlberg.
that helped the movie, especially at this time. Mark Wahlberg. You can argue Mark Wahlberg still is not a great actor, but especially at this time.
Mm-hmm. And that would be an interesting angle to take it, because when I think of Mark Wahlberg, I think of like a Boston meathead.
Yes.
When Rico isn't, he's dumb.
He's very
or
neutral.
He's
like he has a
Right,
very
he's-
neutral accent, very neutral appearance. There's nothing to like distinguish him, which works for the character because he's kind of like your portal into this world. He's your Joe Everyman.
and he has to become jaded and fucking broken inside throughout the movie. If he started as like his buddy, like one of the buddies in his squad, could definitely be Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah, like
Just
I could see Jake Busey's character being Mark Wahlberg, but then you'd have to take Jake Busey out of the movie, and it'd be a worse movie for that.
Yeah, you can't take Jake Busey out. He was too good in it. Yeah, I really like all the interactions between all the soldiers. It gave me the good old fashioned like Band of Brothers kind of vibe.
Mm-hmm.
There were a lot of like feel good moments. I mean, you definitely, this movie went through a lot.
Yeah. It's
I think
they're
the one thing
meaty.
it benefited from was its pacing. I always felt engaged, and they always kept the story going. I don't know how deep of a story they had.
It was pretty shallow.
I don't think it was that.
yeah.
I don't really think it was that like compelling of a story. It's basically humans try to kill bugs, they fail once, and then they go back and get it again. They figure out there's a brain bug.
It's one mission in this
everything's
war.
handed to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are like 5 other. I think there are 4 other Star Trooper movies at this point, and
That I guess
Yes,
just
there's-
forget the premise entirely.
and Casper Van Dien has reprised his role in most of them.
Yeah, I think I need to look at what it was, but I think 2 like they got different actors, and then 3 a lot of them
They brought
reprised
some of
their
the
role.
original actors back, and what's her name? Diz
And then-
comes back in one of them, which I was scratching
Oh.
my head about how that works, but
Interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know how she does that. Well, apparently you can get stabbed and
you see that's the
cut
thing.
up and
Like that's what I was
killed in
talking
action.
about with like the incongruity in medical technology. Like Rico is KIA on the first mission, and they just like build him a new fucking body. But Diz gets impaled twice, and they can do nothing for her.
Right.
well, we don't know. Maybe. Oh no, she sent out to space.
Yeah,
Never mind.
they shipped her out to space.
Forgot. Maybe. Well, maybe.
Well,
she
I
comes
mean, she
back.
does
I don't
come back in the third
Maybe they
movie
clone
or the fourth movie, so something up there.
know. Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess we never really technically saw how bad Rico was injured, so maybe like it was.
Yeah, but they've
Well, he got
they've
impaled
shown the
in the leg.
capacity
When
to be able to regenerate large amounts of
lost
body.
tissue.
Yeah, they rebuilt his leg pretty
I
fair
feel
amount.
like they could have healed Diz and the lieutenant. Really, he just lost his legs. I feel like they could have made him more of a Robo Man.
Yeah, but he doesn't. I guess he didn't. I got from that is that he didn't want to be walking around even more of a cripple than he was.
I thought
Kind of.
because it was kind of hammered over you that he'd rather be killed by someone else than be eaten by a bug.
Right.
Yeah, but they at that point his legs were gone. They could've
Yeah,
saved
no,
him.
that's what I'm
They
saying.
probably
It's
could've
like
pulled him out.
he was weak. He didn't have the will to live.
He wasn't. And it wasn't honorable.
Yeah.
He's
You
just kill
guys
me
want to
now.
live forever?
Yeah, there's
I
a
also
greater
like
theme.
how-
At least, I think that separates the two halves of the movie is that first battle, because there's a big theme of just wiping over tragedy, like just fucking undercutting it. Like bad thing happens, no, it didn't. No.
There's some interesting
they're all
trivia
friends.
for this movie. For example, Neil Patrick Harris was often called Doogie Himmler when he wore the military intelligence uniform because it looks like an
That's
SS
so funny.
uniform.
He did, but when they wore the trench coats, they looked like SS. That's the first thing I got.
Well, I'm sure that was intentional, given the
You think it was intentional? You don't think they just were like, hey,
fascist
black trench coats are in
society
1997?
SS connection? I don't know, Jake.
know.
You never know. And apparently Jake Busey suffered heat stroke during filming that halted production for a week, and they had to cut huge holes in his uniform to keep him
To keep his searing flesh from fucking just igniting on set.
keep him cool.
I'm looking at the names of these sequels: Starship Troopers 2, Hero of the Federation; Starship Troopers 3, Marauder.
Yeah.
Oh, this is cool. So Michael Ironside, the lieutenant or whatever, I think.
The lieutenant / teacher.
Yeah, lieutenant / teacher. He read the book as youth, and he asked director. The director
Verhoeven,
grew up in Nazi-occupied Netherlands. And
wait.
I guess
The director?
interested in Nazis, well, fascist
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Oh, Verhoeven? That makes sense.
Yeah, Verhoeven grew up in Nazi-occupied Netherlands. Verhoeven told him why he made the Nazi movie. If I tell the world that a right-wing fascist way of doing things doesn't work, then no one will listen to me. So I'm going to make a perfect fascist world. Everyone is beautiful. Everyone is shiny. Everything has big guns and fancy ship. But it's only good for killing fucking bugs.
Yeah, that's how I felt. I do have a question. So at the beginning, before we're going to war, were they at like enemies of the bugs? Was that like an enemy thing?
So they had found the bugs before, and I guess they may have had set up quarantine zones. Because they were doing autopsies on them in science class, but they had never I guess, been aggressed upon. Like the bugs had never been aggressors towards them before, and then the meteors landed, which they could have intercepted, honestly. Like the ship moved out of the way.
And which I'm not so sure the meteors came from Glendathu, and it wasn't just... Well, I mean, because it's on the other side of the fucking galaxy, and they don't seem to have light speed technology at all.
I think they can warp them there. I think there was
there's like quantum
some
thingy.
fantasy stuff with like bug plasma that could send meteors out into space, because that's how they were going to different planets. Was that they would put their spore on meteors and then go colonize other planets.
I guess I just like to imagine that this whole fucking thing was just orchestrated by the government, just to like, here's a war. Everybody go to war. Don't think about
that's
we
one
can oust the
interpretation.
current Sky Marshal, get a new Sky Marshal in because he wronged the party in some way.
That's why Bush did 9/11.
And
so
We can kill some of our overpopulation by sending human wave tactics at these bugs, knowing full well that they are just not effective at all. We can keep it going for as long as we want. We're in total control of this conflict, and we can kind of prune back the human race into the mold that we want it to be.
Here's an interesting trivia note. Paul Verhoeven admits that he never finished the novel. He read through the first 3 chapters and became bored and depressed, calling it a very right-wing book. In Empire magazine, he then told screenwriter Edward Neumeier to tell him the rest. Verhoeven and Neumeier then decided, well, both the novel and its author, Robert A. Heinlein, strongly supported a regime led by a military elite. They would turn the concept around and satirizing it, making the film a hyperbolic contemporary hyperbole of contemporary American politics and culture. So yes, it was intended to be satire, but some people didn't quite get that and saw it as a celebration of fascism. That's why when you go and read professional reviews of this movie, they're very different. Some people had a completely different take on it, which is why, I'm only half kidding when we do our IMDb user reviews and I say, don't put too much stock in the real critics. You gotta hear it from the people. I'm only half kidding. Like, you need to find critics and reviewers who show a tendency to be aligned with your personal way of thinking, and then get your stuff from them, because there are a lot of critics with a lot of different backgrounds and viewpoints and things that bother them and don't bother them. And sometimes you have people like the New York Times giving this movie a terrible review, calling it a dumb Shooty McBang movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Actually, I think it was the New York Times review. You guys keep talking. I'll pull up the thing.
It's fine. Yeah, we just talk about some moments. I don't know. Like, I guess I brought up that sort of framing thing about whether we knew about the bugs first, because that would be kind of interesting if we were at war with the bug. They were at war with the bugs at the beginning of the movie, but all the conflict is between people. Like, all their training sets them up as how to kill other people, which seems to me like using either the war they were just in when the world was unified via violent coup. Or something is like, here, we're just, this is what we're really for. This is what the mobile infantry is really for, is for maintaining world order via just intense violence.
Yeah, like most of these reviews here I'm reading don't get the fact that this was a satire very well.
Yeah. The user
reviews?
No,
the professional critics. Like, even the positive one here, the most positive one that's featured in the Metacritic reviews is an 83, and it's from Entertainment Weekly. The movie is sensationally exciting, but it's hey kids, let's put on a war storyline. Plays out like Beverly Hills 90210 recast as a military recruitment film for the Third Reich. They didn't quite get that. But the worst ones are the New York Times. Elvis Mitchell here. Pretty actors, grisly critters, brains sucked out of skulls, buckets of green slime, and a plot that is half beach blanket bingo, half Iwo Jima. Just whoosh.
Yeah.
r/whoosh.
And then Newsweek is even worse. They have theirs is a 30. An empty video game with a movie about interplanetary pest control.
r/whoosh. Jeez. God.
I was trying to see if there's any news of, like, did he ever take a look back at it and say, change his mind years down the line, but I don't see anything where he's taking another look at it.
Yeah, I'm sure it's not a movie that stuck with many of these people.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. And we have the benefit of the general understanding among the viewership that they know they're playing. Guys, this is a satire,
and of hindsight,
so we could walk in with that.
Who knows if we went and watched this movie in '97, if we would you know, in the moment have the same sort of takeaways that this is a satire of fascism. Whereas now, watching in 2020, there have been, you know, the directors have talked about it, and, you know, articles have been written about it, how it's this brilliant satire of fascism.
Because for context, the year before 1997 was 1996. And Kurt, what big sci-fi film came out in 96?
Oh, let's see. It was this little movie. It starred Will Smith. It was called Independence Day.
Yeah. And so that movie was just straight up fuck the aliens. It's look at us, America, and therefore the world.
Yeah,
it's a great day for America and therefore the world. So when a similar movie comes out a year later, except it's a low key, like, fucking shitting on everything that Independence Day was just doing straight up.
Yeah.
The year before. Yeah, I can see how people would get confused.
Yeah. It's it just goes to show you context is important when you're evaluating a movie. And sometimes I'm sure and I think there have been examples of movies we've reviewed on this show, and the show isn't terribly old. But there are movies that we've reviewed on there that I kind of, for better or worse, sometimes I feel I was too harsh on a movie. Sometimes I feel I was too kind to a movie. I kind of want my review back and to, like, you know, rescore some of these movies we've done. But that happens as you have more experiences, your horizons expand, you look at things differently, and maybe you're like, hey, maybe I wasn't quite fair in my assessment of this movie one way or the other.
Let's do a retrospective on all the movies you've
just go over them all. One review, one episode.
One giant 4-hour episode of re-reviewing every movie we've ever done. Oh god, that sounds terrible. Let's not do that.
No, never.
Yeah, so that's Starship Troopers. It's an entertaining movie that you can get as much or as little out of as you desire, apparently.
Yeah.
So that's going to wrap it up. We've got we're not fighting bugs, but we've got our own space adventures that we're going to be continuing tonight on Twitch TV /saturnstuds. We're continuing our Mass Effect 3 stream. We're closing in on the end game. I think we have 2 main story missions before the return to Earth. I'm pretty sure. I think Priority Thessia and then Priority Horizon, because I believe Sanctuary is on Horizon. So we have those 2 missions, and then it's Return to Earth. So I don't know how far we're going to get tonight, but we'll get as far as we get, and we'll make a determination about whether we're going to do a Sunday stream based on how far we get in our stream tonight. You can check out saturnstuds.com for links to our Twitch channel as well as our YouTube channel, where stream archives are hosted, and we're working on developing original content for the YouTube channel. Always, we haven't quite gotten to any of it yet, but we're always kicking around ideas, trying to do stuff with that. We got our social media, Twitter @StudsSaturn, Facebook.com/SaturnStuds. Again, those links are available to you on saturnstuds.com. It's an easy to remember website. Has all you need to get all your Saturn Studs fix. So until next time, be well, stay safe, and party like it's 1995.